Hey everybody, it's Dan, and welcome to Drinking a Movie. Now on this channel we pair cocktails and spirits to some of the greatest movies ever made, and tonight is certainly no exception. But before we get into it, if you're new to the channel or if you're returning and have not done so, please click subscribe, please click like on this video. You can even click that notification bell to let you know when new videos are posted. It goes a long way to helping me out, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, so tonight we're going Italiano. First of all, a gin-based cocktail that was born and bred in the heart of Italy. It's savory, it's delicious. Second, a movie from the 1980s that's so rich and full of nostalgia. It's just a beautiful film from top to bottom, very moving, very entertaining. So, without further ado, andiamo. Okay, so first on the menu is the Negroni. Now this is a beautiful combination of aromatic flavors. It contains gin, vermouth, and Campari, and together it makes just one of the most classically Italian, flavorful cocktails on the planet. I think you'll like that. Second is the 1988 film Cinema Paradiso. Now this film is 2 hours of magic. It really is. It holds you. It's so rich and nostalgic. It's moving. It's funny. And it just has so much going for it. It's a great film. But before we get into that movie, hey, let's make the Negroni. Alright, so before we begin the Negroni, let's talk a little bit about its history. So, like many cocktails, origin stories take on a life of their own. However, the most widely reported version of this drink's origin is that it was invented at the Caffè Cassoni, which is now called the Caffè Giacosa, and that's in Florence, Italy, in 1919. And legend says that Count Camillo Negroni asked his friend, the bartender Fosco Scarselli, to strengthen his favorite cocktail, the Americano, by replacing the soda water with gin. And Scarselli also added an orange, which was different from the Americano's lemon. And the drink took off. And before long, everyone was coming into the bar asking for a Negroni. So, let's say we get into it here. First of all, we want to add 1 ounce of gin, and I'm going to go with the London Dry Gin, the Bombay Sapphire. This jigger has a 1 ounce on one side, 2 ounces on the other. It doesn't require any smaller measurements, so we're good to go. And the gin goes in. Next ingredient is Campari, and you've heard me mention Campari before. It's an herbal, bitter, and not in a bad way. It's from Milano, northern Italy, and it just does so much to cocktails. Like it's just such an impactful and flavorful ingredient, and you can't really make a Negroni without the Campari. And it's 1 ounce of Campari. All right, and in you go. And then the final ingredient is our vermouth, noillyprat. You want Rosso or Rouge, which is what we have here, and that is also 1 ounce. And in we go. Excellent. Next step is to stir. So we have our lovely bar spoon, and we want to stir for about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so once you finish stirring, what we want to do is strain the cocktail into our glass. And you see here I've got just a regular rocks glass, and what's cool about this is we have a ice sphere. Now I recommend these. This is great. Here's what the mold looks like, and you can get this at most stores. Fill that with water, plug it in, put it in the freezer. You get yourself a large ball of ice, and what that's good for is it lasts longer in your drink and it doesn't water it down as quickly. So, got our large ice sphere in the drink, and we want to strain. Lovely color. I can already smell the aromatics. Looks good. And then the final touch is our orange twist. So we want to twist it, get those oils into the drink. Maybe do a little wipe of the rim. Plop her in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a Negroni. All right, let's go check out that movie. Hi everybody, and welcome to the Movie Chair. As we do here, let's talk a little bit about the drink, the Negroni, before we get into the movie. So right off the bat, I'm getting great aroma. We're getting the herbal, the botanical, even the orange peel is contributing to just a great aroma. And that's not even getting into the taste yet, so that's just a really nice bonus. Damn, Jimmy, this is good. It's really good. It's all these flavors are combining to just this orchestral flavor in my mouth. They all have their part to play. You've got the gin, the Campari, the vermouth, and even the orange, just contributing to a celebration of flavor. Now, it is strong. Each of those three main components have alcohol, so it's not going to be a drink for the faint of heart. Very strong and flavorful. Some folks may want the ice to melt down a little bit, give it a little bit of softness, but I find it absolutely delicious. The Negroni, I can see why it took on such a reputation in Italy, and it's just such a classic. Very flavorful. Enjoy. Okay, so Cinema Paradiso. I love this movie. Like I said earlier, it's almost magical, this movie, to me, and you really get swept away. It's one of those films that you just forget about life, our pandemic life, for 2 hours, and it's such a refreshing, moving, beautiful experience. Now, when it was released, it did end up winning an Oscar for the best foreign language film, and rightfully so. I mean, it's just fantastic. You've got the cast is great, the director's great, the story's fantastic. Ennio Morricone did the score for it, and we talked about him before in our Once Upon a Time in the West. Okay, so what are my three keys? Well, first of all, it's the director. It's Giuseppe Tornatore, and he just does a masterful job with this film. It's really the perfect balance of all the ingredients of a great film, and he brings it together as the director. And he really leaned on his experience from his childhood, growing up in Sicily, and you see that flavor. And in fact, the movie takes place in Sicily, so we'll get into his story a little bit. Okay, so number two is the cast of this film. And when I say cast, of course I'm talking about the lead protagonist, which is a character named Salvatore, and is played by three different people. First, we meet Salvatore as an older man. He's a successful film director, but then he has the flashback, and we see a very young Salvatore, and brilliantly played, and in a teenage is equally brilliantly played. So we'll get into that too. But not only are the actors fantastic in this film, but the village almost becomes a character, and you really fall in love with this place, and it just really sweeps you away, and it's such a good feeling and just an enjoyable experience. So we'll get into a little bit more about the cast and the performances and how that ties into the story. But cast number two. And finally, number three, the score. The music is so swelling. It's so fitting for the story, the mood. Everything comes together. And Ennio Morricone, and he worked on it with his son, Andrea. So the two Morricones just deliver an outstanding score, and we'll get a little bit more of that as well. So these three key things, and there's plenty more I could go on with this film about, but those are the three keys for me. And so let's get into them a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk about Giuseppe Tornatore, the director for this film. So not only did he direct it, but he also wrote the screenplay, and so it's obviously a story that was very close to him, and again, delivers on all accounts. Okay, from a story standpoint, we meet Salvatore De Vita. Now, he is an accomplished, successful director, and he gets a phone call late at night that his girlfriend, or at least the woman that's in his room, answers the phone and tells him that a person named Alfredo died. And then we're swept back into his childhood memory, and what a journey it is. So we get this flashback to Salvatore as a young boy, and he's living with his widowed mom, or at least presumed widowed. This was several years after World War II, and his father hasn't come home, so all indications are that he was killed in the war. And but over time, this young boy becomes friends with Alfredo, and Alfredo is a projectionist at the local cinema named Cinema Paradiso. And eventually Alfredo teaches him not only how to run the projector and take over, but just becomes a good friend and a father figure to the young Salvatore. And it really sparked the initial love that Salvatore ended up developing for film. And there's a lot of great sequences in that young Salvatore's life that really bring this home. From a directing standpoint, he really it just flourishes with his eye, and his vision really just comes to life here, and it's just such a beautiful film, and he does such a great job with the pacing, with the editing, with creating the mood. I can't go on enough about his role in this film, and fantastic job. Okay, so let's talk about the cast. Now, the whole cast, it just does a phenomenal job of making you feel like you know them, that they're part of this community, that this village really exists, and that it's just such a beautiful snapshot in time. So you got this whole, even the bit players, there's the crazy guy in the square, there's the priest out, there's the family members and other townspeople who just love their cinema, right? You've got this going on, but what really anchors the story, of course, is Salvatore, the young boy, and Alfredo. Now, Salvatore was played by a young actor named Salvatore Cascio. So, again, just adorable face, beautiful performance, and he's really does a fantastic job. And then Alfredo, who's played by Philippe Noiret, he again really has just a beautiful partnership with this young actor, and you can see it on screen. They really become bonded in friendship, and it really is a touching relationship. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so all of the characters, all the faces, the personalities, they really stay with you long after the film. It's really almost like they genuinely existed, and that's a credit to the performance, it's a credit to the story, and of course it's a credit to the director. Okay, so the music. As I mentioned, we've talked about Ennio Morricone before, his work with Sergio Leone, and specifically my episode of Once Upon a Time in the West. Check it out if you haven't seen it. But here he's developed, after that Leone partnership, he developed a partnership with Tornatore, and it was in a number of his films as well, providing the score. And the music in this film is outstanding. It's like the perfect icing to the most luscious cake, and it has a big credit to Morricone and his skill as a composer. And I've mentioned it before, he's considered one of the greatest film composers of all time, and and that's obviously high praise and well earned. And in this film, he gets to work with his son Andrea Morricone, so a nice father-son combination, and they just deliver an outstanding, beautiful score. All right, so in conclusion, I would hope everyone that I know would see this movie. I'm not saying it's life-changing, but it's certainly 2 hours of joy, 2 hours of beauty. I really would love to know what people think about the film that have seen it, or see it maybe after watching this episode. And if you do see it, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the film. I'd love to have a discussion about it. I think it's one of those films that really everyone should see. That's just my take on it. I think that the ending of the film, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but the ending is one of the most moving, touching endings, and no lie, I cried like a little baby first time I saw it, and subsequent viewings. But I cry at commercials, so what are you going to do? But I think that it's just the most perfect ending of any movie I've ever seen, and and there's a lot of films that have fantastic endings. This one really struck a chord in me, and I'd be interested to hear what you think about that ending as well. Now, having said all that, classic Italian film with a classic Italian cocktail. Make the Negroni. Check this out. Let me know what you think. The ingredients are all readily available at most stores that sell spirits. They're not too expensive either, so that's a bonus. And it's such a delicious take of classic Italian culture in a cocktail. Beautiful movie, beautiful cocktail. Hope you enjoy them both. Until we see each other again, stay happy, stay healthy. Salute.